Let me make something very clear. Just because I'm a confidence coach, just because you've been through my client work, just because you've graduated from my program or whatever, doesn't mean that you're 100% confident. Nobody's immune to normal body and mental feelings, right? Everyone goes through their ups and downs. Literally, like 3 days ago, I was like, I'm so ugly. I'm gonna single for the rest of my life. Like I went through my moment and we all go through that, right? But it's like that bounce back. I call it the bounce back rate.
The term body positivity from a basic standpoint refers to the assertion that all people deserve to have a positive body image, regardless of the popular view of ideal shape and size in society. More often than not, people get criticized, judged by race and gender, and questioned on their sexuality. This ultimately leads to individuals to like depression and sometimes low self-esteem. One of the most important goals for body positivity is to help people build confidence and how these individuals will need to accept their own bodies. Today, Yashu Rao, a published model and confidence and lifestyle coach, will be our special guest who will be talking about her journey with body positivity and her experiences as a confidence and lifestyle coach. Yashu Rao is currently a PhD candidate at the University of Florida in material science and nuclear engineering. Welcome, Yashu. How are you doing today?
Hi, I am great. Thank you so much for having me out inside.
Of course, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Yeshu. Yeshu, for all of us who are lacking confidence in how we look, for example, I'm not tall enough, I'm pretty skinny, and, we don't have that innate confidence in ourselves, and we never actually learned it in school or something we learned from our friends. Please guide us in how you build your confidence and how we can do it from our side starting today.
Absolutely. That's a great question. And it's, I think, something that everyone kind of goes through some point in their life, right? Where they find something that they're not feeling too hot about. And ultimately, my answer is mindset. It's what your mind tells you almost, right? Or what you tell your mind. So a lot of times we're here and we're accepting these societal beauty standards, right? That you have to be 6 feet tall, you have to be a size 0 to 2, and all of these things. But we never sit for a moment and go, well, I have a great skin. I am tall. I am masculine. I am feminine. I have beautiful hair. I have angelic eyes. Like, we never sit down and look at the things that we do have. We have a tendency to look at those things that we don't have, right? And that puts us in a very limited box. So I always say for confidence, one of the most important things and strategies that I always recommend to my clients and just people that I work with all the time is changing your language, changing what it is that you're saying, what you're feeling, redirecting all of these negative emotions that someone else is kind of dictating on you, society is dictating on you, and flipping the script. That's what I call the homework assignment. Flip the script. So take a moment to just acknowledge what you have, changing the things that you don't have instead of being in that space of like, oh, I don't have this. Why can't we for a minute be like, well, I have got these curvy hips. Well, why can't we take a minute to say, I have got these broad shoulders, and finding beauty in those things for men and women, right? Oh, I have got this amazing melanin skin. I have got these amazing penetrating eyes. Like, why can't we take a minute to change our vocabulary and flip the script? That's what I would say.
I think that is the problem. We don't spend enough time looking inside For example, I spend only a minute just looking at myself in the mirror during when I brush, and and then rest of the day I'm either on Instagram looking at other people's pictures on Instagram, and then it's always that, just looking at other people's, other people going to gym, other people being fit, or like that sets standards in us, and then that really puts us in a state where, okay, why am I not like them?
And you have to
Uh,
think about it too, right? What you just said, you take a couple of minutes to brush your teeth, and that's when you look at yourself, or brush your hair, and that's when you look at yourself, right? The people that you see on Instagram, they're dedicating their day to looking good, to brushing and this and that, and making sure they're looking amazing, right? So, wouldn't you think that if we decided to really take that much of time to transform the way that we look, that we would also fit these societal norms? Like, I do take time to make sure that I am looking good. I put in effort. If I'm going out, for example, to an event or I'm hosting, I make sure that I am brushing my teeth, that I am putting my hair together. I'm picking an outfit that is going to fit my body, that's going to look good on my body. I wear my earrings, and I do sometimes makeup, sometimes not doing makeup right now, but makeup or whatever. If you put effort, obviously you're going to see some differences in the way that you're appealing. But ultimately, it's like the people that we see on social media, it's like that's what their dedicated work is. They're influencers. Their job is to sit and do all of that. Their job is to go to the gym, get ripped, and post their pictures. Like that is their job. So, I mean, it's like saying to them, it's like going to them and being like, you can't even write down the Arrhenius equation. Like, no, obviously not. Imagine if their confidence was like plummeting because they couldn't write it down. So it's like you gotta rationalize it in your head too.
That's a good way to put it. And speaking of like social media, right? Like I think at least for for us in this podcast, like we're at that age where like we've seen we were pretty young still, but we were still able to see like how it was before social media. And now there's this new generation who are pretty much born in the time of like Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. To what extent do you think that body positivity is needed after social media? Because everybody can just go on Instagram and then just start comparing themselves with other people without knowing the back end of things. So like to what extent do you think it's needed?
I think social media is definitely needed in the body positivity movement. And it's because think about, I guess I'm a little older than all of y'all. If you go back before back in the day, social media and stuff, like look at movies and whatnot, like even like in our Indian culture, right? We follow a very specific Eurocentric beauty standard. And so we never had social media or anything to create awareness that other forms of bodies are still beautiful, right? So without social media, we would still be stuck in the, get skinny. You have to be this dimension. You have to look like this actress from Bollywood who's, Aishwarya Rai, who might have been like a size 0 or a size 2. But social media has really been a great vehicle to create awareness for body positivity. Now, the problem becomes getting comfortable in this thought that body positivity means I can look whatever way I want to look and it should be okay. I am a person who advocates for healthy living. Healthy living is so important. That's why I chose to be a lifestyle coach, because it wasn't enough for me to say, okay, well, I'm plus size. And I encourage other plus size women to find beauty within themselves and build their confidence. But that doesn't mean lead unhealthy lives. So again, social media can be attacking when it comes to certain movements and stuff like that. But I think that's where, again, social media is your tool to then no, this is not what I mean. Body positivity doesn't mean just be the way you want. It means to lead healthy lives. And if that means if you're happy with the way you're living, right? You're working out, you're eating healthy, you're still curvy, then then be proud of your curves. So I think social media plays a great role. And if you look at the past decade, the social media body positivity movement really started probably about a decade and a half ago, around 2010-ish. And so you'll see a slight change in the way that other communities have been picking it up. Now, we predominantly see plus size awareness happen, for example, in African American cultures, or, you know, with especially like Black women and stuff like that. We see a lot of it happening, which is so empowering and beautiful. And so for people to then start adapting that, right? If it wasn't for me being able to be influenced by these amazing plus size, curvy, beautiful Black influencers, I wouldn't be in the space of being one of the world's first Indian American plus size models advocating for the Indian community. So again, social media, you see this curve of this, you know, body positivity movement going up. And as the influencers start to increase, you start to see different avenues within, which is healthy living, body positivity for all different sorts of things, right? We have people who are like really skinny who are trying to gain weight. So we start seeing body positivity in that regard. People with dark skin, people with skin issues, people with body dysmorphia. We start to see these communities popping open. And it started with, I think, body positivity movement focusing on plus size movement, but now it's just been so, you know, diversified, and that's amazing. That's amazing.
Once it becomes diversified, a lot of people will connect to their specific type of style and they'll feel included as well. And I think beforehand, like you mentioned, we only been seeing one spectrum and then that was it. And so that was a good point you mentioned. Talking about mindset, how do we create our own standards and forget about others people's standards?
This is a good question, and I'm going to give kind of a anecdote. So a couple of weeks ago, actually, I was talking to my brother, and he told me that there's a certain group of individuals. It's like a way that you can classify yourself, a movement that basically is people who just decide that they will never be able to find a partner. And that's it. Like they will never, like they cannot. It's in their mindset that they cannot, and so they have identified themselves as a group. They've classified themselves. My reaction to this was like, what? No, like everyone deserves love, and everyone can work on it. And there are certain skills and you know, homework assignments and things that you can do to like help yourself discover who you are and attract your amazing partner. So I was like, dang, why are these people just getting comfortable in that space of just being like almost like I have to be single? And then for a minute it like hit me. I was like, wait, by me doing this body positivity movement, am I just settling for being a curvy person? Am I just being okay with being a thick person and like not doing anything about it? And that's when mindset becomes super important. You can either become complacent and just be like, F it, this is it. I'm gonna just be this, I'm gonna just do me, I'm gonna just eat my burgers and fries and milkshakes and just live this life, which is fine, right? Some people choose that. Clearly, there's a whole group that chooses to be the way that they choose to be, right? But then there's also a positive growth mindset that you can apply to yourself, which says, well, you can be whatever you want to be. You can be curvy and you can still be healthy. You can still lead a healthy lifestyle, and that's okay. So it's almost like choice, right? The choice of words goes into your mindset. Like, what is it that you're choosing to be? That's what becomes the architecture for your mindset. I am choosing to be a curvy, beautiful woman who's also healthy. And that's what I want, because I want to be able to do da 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 da. I want to be able to have this, 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 and this. So for me, that mindset, that me knowing that I want to be healthy, I also love my curvy body. I know there's a way I can make that happen. And that's that mindset that's going to help you grow towards a goal and not just become complacent, right? So I think that it's literally the language. It's literally you fine tune your mindset. You either kind of like choose a certain lifestyle or you don't. And of course, there's people who have conditions, right? Medical conditions where they're like, oh, well, you know what? I can't do da 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 da. Like I can't lose weight. Like I can't, you know. I get it. I totally get it. And there are people who can't. But how do you still fulfill your mindset? Like for me, y'all think I haven't tried working out? I used to work out 6 hours a day. 6 hours a day. And I probably lost half an inch on my waist. And of course, a lot of people are gonna, say like, well, you probably didn't keep doing it. You probably didn't do it right. You probably this, you probably that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I did the best I could. I didn't like that lifestyle of just living in the gym. I talk to my doctors. I am vegetarian by culture, right? I have always practiced healthy living. I work out, I do yoga. Like I'm doing all the things that I possibly can for my body. And I'm proud to say my body functions great. My stats are great. Every time I go to the doctor's office, my doctor says, hey, Yashu, you're doing great. Don't let people discourage you because you're curvy or thick. And so for me, it became a realization that like the world can attack you and have their own opinion on your mindset. But that's where you have to be strong and just know, well, I'm doing the best I can do for my body. I'm doing the best I can do for myself. I'm doing the best I can do for whatever it is that I'm wanting. If my goal is to just be healthy and then also admire my body, then I'm doing a great freaking job. And everyone can have that. It's just how you're choosing to achieve what it is that you're choosing for yourself, right?
It's a great mindset because like you create your own standards, you like what you're doing, but there's always this like external force, right? Like I mean, I don't know about you, but like especially in the Desi, in the specifically the Telugu community, there's always this notion that you have to be this like ideal shape, right? And then there's this whole comparison game, like you look at your friends, they're like, oh, why can't you be like this? And there's always this thing. What do you think that needs to change within the Desi and slash Telugu community?
Yeah, this is very real. We all face it. I face it. My family, my relatives, my distant relatives till this day tell me that I'm never going to get married in my life. And that, I've had people say really nasty things to me and my parents. It is real. It is very real. So, what needs to change? Can we change our parents or people who are stuck in a certain cultural mindset? We could try. Some parents will change. Most of the time, they don't. So, it's almost, I wouldn't say unrealistic, but it's very hard to change someone else. So, what is it that is in your control? It's you. So, what you have to change is the way that you receive these dialogues. And it's hard. Let me make something very clear. Just because I'm a confidence coach, just because you've been through my client work, just because you've graduated from my program or whatever, doesn't mean that you're 100% confident. Nobody's immune to normal body and mental feelings, right? Everyone goes through their ups and downs. Literally, like 3 days ago, I was like, I'm so ugly. I'm gonna be single for the rest of my life. Like I went through my moment and we all go through that, right? But it's like that bounce back. I call it the bounce back rate. It's a bounce back rate that changes when you start basically creating boundaries around yourself, right? So when family starts to say things, how are you receiving that? It's hard. Sometimes I like really get irritated sometimes when my mom says certain things and it's like you can't say something back. But at the same time, it's like you can't even ignore it because it's your mom, If it's someone else on the street, I would just been like, well, but with other people, sometimes you can't do that. And so what are the boundaries that you create? And creating boundaries is the most important thing. And in the Desi community, not just about body positivity, anything, boundaries is the key. And I specialize in working with like Desi communities. And I can tell you like the number one thing that people don't have is those boundaries. And one of the most important things that you can do is implementing those. And that can be hard. Like I tell my mom, I don't want to talk about this, right? And she'll just, zoop. And we still talking about it, right? So it can be hard and reiteration and whatnot. But again, sometimes you just have to solidly like draw those boundaries. And yeah, there'll be moments where you can't. And that's where you have to like really be strong in your mental verdict, right? Knowing that, okay, well, yes, you're right. I'm still single and I'm 29. I get it. Get it. All right. I'm supposedly not very attractive for the Desi community. I get it. But at the same time, I'm very fulfilled with who I am. And I'm very happy to say that I know people who find me very attractive. So there is hope for me. And I don't have to feel, any other sort of way. So it's like the positive self-talk that's going to help you create those boundaries and help you with that bounce back rate.
Can you talk about boundaries real quick? How do we create a boundary, or what does a boundary look like? Are we cutting out people from our life? Are we cutting out topics from talking to certain people? What is it in entirety?
Boundary is whatever you need to feel safe with a specific topic, a person, whatever. Does that mean you're going to have to cut out people? You may have to. It's like anything. It's not just about the Desi community. If, for example, you are an addict and your community of friends are all addicts and you've just been through rehab. Now, chances are if you go back to living with those same people who are still addicts, you're going to bounce back to your choice of whatever. So what you have to do, and a lot of times what we do is set boundaries. And we say, okay, well, I have to find another place to live. I'm not going to live where I used to live with a house full of people who are addicts. I need to set boundaries. So similarly, right, when it comes to our Desi community, there are topics which are taboo or difficult: sex, marriage, marrying interracially, right? Body positivity, or, all of that stuff, or sexuality even. And so what I would always recommend is, what is it that you need? Identifying that first. For me, I knew I don't want to cut my family out. My mom is my best friend. Like, I'm not going to cut ties with my mom. But at the same time, marriage is not a topic that I like to have. My modeling career is hell no, not a topic that I want to talk about at all. Oh my gosh, no. Right? And so if any of those topics ever arise, like my mom's like, Sandy Kupeli, some of them do snanny or something like that, and again, this changes. Like, you also have to remember that you're a person who's ever evolving. Your parents are ever evolving too. As individuals, humans, we always evolve. That is the purpose of our life. So at one point I might have been like, no, I ain't doing this arranged marriage thing, right? And then fast forward, I could be like, yeah, I'll think about it. That might be something I'll consider, but dating is something that I have to have. Like, I have to go through a phase of dating before I can commit to anything, versus who knows, maybe 10 years later, I'll be like, yo, no, like, so things can change. And so for you to like be able to verbalize that. And if the other person is not ready to receive you, it's always important. When the other person's not ready to receive you, then you no longer invest your energy there. So if I'm trying to tell my mom, I'm not interested, and they're not ready to listen to it, then that's when I can say, all right, I don't think you're ready to hear me out. We'll talk another time. And cutting the call, letting them know, maybe messaging them later saying, Amma, I need you to respect my decision because I am 29 years old and I love you. And I know you always do what's right for me and what, is good for me. But at the same time, I'm not ready for this right now. I need you to understand it. But let's talk about it later. I need you to hear me out. Some parents will, some parents won't. And then you just have to say, okay, well, I tried. You have to like make peace at some point with something. Nothing is ever perfect, especially the Desi community and the expectations. Like, it's hard, very hard.
I just feel like there's so many expectations, right? I don't want to talk about other parts of India, but like just specifically Telugu, right? The expectation that we have to do certain things at a certain age and everything perfectly. It's going to take a long time for people to realize and get into the mindset change. Do you want to talk about like your experience as like a confidence and lifestyle coach, and like how you kind of got started and what kind of started that engine for you to become one?
Yeah, for sure. So as you know, and again, specific to our culture, being plus size is not really liked in our community. being a plus size woman, you're almost seen as if you have a disability. In my family, that's how I was treated. A lot of my relatives would always say, no one's going to marry her. I've had people tell me I'm a waste of space on this earth. I've had people tell me I was going to be a nothing. I've had a relative tell me, ఎవరినో ఇచ్చి కట్టబెట్టేసేయండి, కాలున్నా చెయ్యున్నా లేకపోయినా కన్నున్నా నోరున్నా లేకపోయినా ఎవరినో ఒకరిని తీసుకొని ఇచ్చేసేయండి. But at the moments when you hear that, you for a minute think to yourself, like, why do I have to deserve that? Not that there's anything wrong with being able to be with someone who may have an actual disability, but why is it that I'm almost being disposed of, And so for me, that was really hard. On top of that, I think being continually rejected or cheated on or dumped by Desi men and just being told really nasty things by Desi men. Again, not saying all Desi men are like this, but just the trauma of having multiple Desi partners who've literally told you, you're so ugly. The only reason I'm with you is because you have nice tits. Like, to be able to be told that to your face, is hard. And I think it got to a point where I felt so closed in, like I hated myself. I went from a space of self-hate to now a space of self-love. And the journey took time, and it took time for me to actually get away from home. I needed to leave home, and I was always home because I went to college in DC. So I was home. I needed to get out of there. So when I moved to Florida, I think that's when I had my real transformative time. It was the first time in 26 years that I ever wore anything sleeveless. I wore anything that was like shorter than my knees. In high school, I used to wear salwar kameez, really baggy ones. Till this day, like if I go home and I'm wearing like a t-shirt and leggings, my mom is like, just go wear one of those salwars that'll cover how ugly you are. Like, this is the dialogue that I deal with on a day-to-day. And I'm not the only one. That's the sad part. Do you know how many people DM me saying like, Akka, I feel you, Akka. Or Akka, I'm going through this. How did you get through this? This happens to a lot of people. Maybe not in the same way or the same degree. Maybe some people get it worse. And then on top of that, I think that there's this notion that when you're plus size or there's something quote unquote wrong with you, that you're easy. You're an easy target for people. People will take advantage of you. People will use the fact that you don't have your confidence and use it against you, whether that's harassment, sexual abuse. It's very real. So for me, just having experienced all of that, it came to a point where when I came to Florida, I really expanded, and I chose to explore myself, chose to dress differently. I really found who I was, my identity. So through that process, like I had shared the story with someone, and then someone said like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. Why don't you come take some professional pictures? And I was like, okay, like why not? So I went and I had my first ever photo shoot, and I looked so beautiful. Like, oh my gosh. I was like, wow, that was me. And then those are the pictures I used for my first photo, commercial photo shoot submissions. And then I started, doing more gigs and more opportunities, and then getting published, and then, things like that. And then I've always been into fashion. So I hosted my first fashion show. And during that time, I had a lot of Desi models, a lot of Desi Indian model, like from India, men and women. And I remember I was doing this one exercise with them to help them like show poise and stuff on the stage. I told them, find the one part of your body that you are insecure about and strut it like you ain't never seen another day. So I showed that. I was like, you know what? I have a big butt, and I'm about to strut this butt across the stage, So I showed them an example. And so suddenly I have like this group of like 7 Desi men and women. And I'm just listening. And none of these women and men are plus size. Let me make that clear. And I remember one, like, the model's like walking and I'm like, what body part are you trying to show off? And they're like, well, I'm so fat. So that's what I'm insecure about. And I'm like, if you fat, then I'm like, like ginormous, And so for me, I just realized like people have been so trained to think certain way, to be boxed in this thing. And so that's when I was like, these people need a confidence like makeover. Like they need this change. So during that fashion show, my models coined the term confidence coach. They're like, Yashu is a confidence coach. And that I loved it. I loved it. I loved the feedback I got after the fashion show. I was published in the newspaper, and I remember they had like also interviewed some other people, and they had said like, I think the takeaway from this whole fashion show like wasn't even about the fashion or the fact that we're doing like Indo-Western, fusion. Like it wasn't about that. It was the fact that we learned such a valuable lesson during this fashion show working with Yashu that we can carry on for the rest of our lives. And that was so powerful. So then I guess I was like, this is it. Like, this is what I'm going to do. I have so many other things that I'm doing, but this is definitely something I want to do. And so I got certified. I started working with people. And a lot of times, like I said, I get DM. Like I remember there was one girl from Hyderabad who had hit me up and she was like, Akka, I saw your recent post. I just want to say you're the reason I didn't kill myself that day. I was going to kill myself. And I was just, I don't know. I looked at my phone one last time and I saw your post and I put down the, whatever. And so when you read things like that and you know that what you're doing is really having an impact on people, you get goosebumps because you realize like how dangerous a limited mind can be. Imagine a community of just limited minds. Scary. I chose to be the one little mind that wasn't gonna do that.
Yashu, this is such a powerful story, and thank you for sharing all that. I don't know who has been there for you to look up to, but it seems like you did this and processed this all by yourself. And that phase of that bring back, that comeback you were talking about stage is, I don't know how someone would be, would be able to do that. And you did that, and you've been helping a lot of people. From those messages, you literally saved so many people's lives. And that's just such an amazing legacy to leave behind.
Absolutely. And I would say I didn't do it alone. I had maybe not family, maybe not culture, but I had people, good people in my life. My mentor here in Florida, I have a few mentors, but my mentor, Aaronisha Hamilton is her name. She believed in me. She believed in my mission. My mental health mentor, because I'm a huge mental health advocate. Mia Holland. She Miss Mia is the one who would always tell me to like pick my head up when times were tough. There's a story that I think is in the Bible about the olive tree and how with an olive, right? To get the finest olive oil, you have to take the olive and you have to crush it, pulverize it, destroy it, squeeze the living daylights out of it until you get the finest oil that is then used to feed 1,000 mouths. And this is the story that my good people used to tell me. They used to tell me like, Yashu, you're on a journey and people are throwing rocks at you and they're hitting you and with these rocks and it hurts and everything. But as you keep walking, those rocks are falling down to pave a path. They're creating a path. Those rocks that are hitting you are creating a path for the rest of us to start walking on. And so there are going to be people who want to like listen to this interview and be like, oh my gosh, you're making this so dramatic. Like, listen, like, okay, you positive about being thick. Okay, we get it. But it's also not that easy because it can play a lot on your mental. The way you look does, because that's fundamental human nature. We are creatures. We are attracted to other members of our community. Beauty plays a huge role in our human existence. And our mindset is the most important thing behind it. And so it is very important. And it is a topic that can hurt people. Bullying is real. I was bullied. And they all stem from this fundamental nature of like how you look. So it is an important topic. And not everyone's going to get it. And that's okay. But the people who are listening right now, who can relate to any of this in any capacity, for having dark skin, for being bald, for being short, for being way tall. I had a confidence coach person who was 6'4" because they were so freaking tall. People used to make fun of them. And yet everyone is all about like, oh my God, I wish I was just like 2 inches taller, right? Like you can't say what is, going to work for someone doesn't work for someone else.
Would you say to other people who are in this path to don't let other people let you down and use your confidence as a weapon for those people?
Absolutely. Your confidence is the most attractive thing. Like, boom, here, boom, fact, right here, real quick. Your confidence is what makes you so attractive. I tell anyone, like, you could look not put together. You could look like a hot mess. But you walk out there like you own this planet, like you know what you're doing. Like you walk out there like you got it. And you will turn people's heads and they will go, dang, that is hot. Confidence is the most attractive trait in a man and a woman. So it's like, why not be confident? At least fake it a little bit, fake it till you make it. I do prescribe that to some people, to some of my clients. It's not for everyone because it's also a mindset thing. You don't want to fall into a false persona, but sometimes like you could be a confident person and you can just be having a bad day, or like you just be, you just got dumped. So your confidence is kind of low, but in general, you're kind of a confident person. You just fake it a little bit and you'll pick right back up. You'll walk in there like, boom, hey, what's up? Right?
Is it wrong to be overconfident?
Yes. Overconfidence is tricky, right? Overconfidence, arrogance, like these all fall into a little thing. But I can simplify it, right? And this is the easiest. And this applies to not just like beauty standards and everything. This applies to like studying for an exam. Low confidence, overconfidence. Low confidence. You've studied and you've put effort, but you still think that you're going to fail. You're in that limited mindset, low confidence. You've studied and you feel good. You're confident. You didn't really study, okay? Because you was out and about, okay? But you was like, I know this, okay? Like, I know Arrhenius equation. Like, come on, I got this. And you just didn't study, or didn't study enough, or didn't feel like you internally, you didn't study enough, but you're using your overconfidence to compensate for that internal insecurity because you didn't study. Overconfidence. So there's a difference. Now, if I always never like dressed my best, felt good energy and whatever, like went out presentable, I always, was like a slump, like in pajamas with like crust coming off of my face. And like, I was like, yeah, I'm confident. Then it's safe to say I'm being a little overconfident here, right? But if I'm a person who's just like always put together, doing my best, feeling my best, doing everything I can to, be in a good space, I'm going to be confident. I always say, like, if my hair look good, my eyes look good, and I smell good, I have this thing about smelling good. Smell good, like I'm good. And then for sometimes, if my butt looks good. But anyway.
అదేదో సినిమాలో ఉంటుంది. It's like one dialogue. It's just supposed to be funny. It's like confidence thrills, overconfidence kills. అనేదేదో ఉంటుంది. So yeah, just remember that dialogue when you're saying it. When you talk with your like clients, right? Like, do you have to be like extremely careful like what you tell them? Like, because when it comes to this body positivity, there is a difference, right? Like, promoting a healthy lifestyle and then just being what you want to be, there's that line. Do you think that some advice can be taken the wrong way?
And that's why you have to be very how you like attack the situation. If I'm getting someone who's like, why am I still single? Like, I can't believe I'm still single. Like, it's so sad, you know, like I'm so single. Like, what's wrong with me? I don't jump into confidence training. What I do is I evaluate, okay, let's talk about life for a minute. I want us to evaluate life. So I have them go through 10 different aspects of life and, you know, rate them. We work on each of them. Like, I break it down for them. We're working on improving our lifestyle. And that way, what I know is, okay, socially, this person's good. Financially, this person's, you know, doing good, meeting their goals. You know, professionally, they're meeting their goals. Like, I go through every aspect of life. When I then, and it'll be quick before, like when I go through, and I'll know, oh, okay, you know what? This insecurity or whatever they're feeling is stemming from the fact that they're not doing their best to like dress their best. They're not doing their best to dress their best because this is from a childhood trauma that had happened in this. Like, there's always a reason for things to transpire. So you do have to look at the bigger picture. So then once I know, like, this person stopped caring about the way they looked because they never fit in. They never fit in because their father always used to get transfers. And so they kept changing cities. And every new city they would go to, he would get bullied. So he stopped caring because it never made sense to him to put effort anymore. So you see how, like, the fact that this person is not changing his wardrobe comes all the way to his childhood and like having to go through all of that. So it's like, you have to start there. The healing starts there. And while this is happening, I simultaneously also like prescribe homeworks to like help build the confidence, help change the dialogues, flipping the script. You know, I challenge them. That's why I chose not to like be a therapist or something. But with my coaching company, what I do is I bring in spaces of healing by listening, right? Which is a therapeutic practice, mentoring by giving them guiding steps, and then coaching by saying, okay, here's your homework assignment. It ain't going to be easy, but here's what you're going to do, right? And then like laying down a homework assignment. So like, for example, I tell them, listen, I know you're a guy and you probably don't do this, but here's what you're going to do. You're going to play your favorite song and you're going to dance it out in your room. Yeah, you heard me. Like, you're going to dance. Like, you're going to like it's going to be like a really romantic Telugu song too. You're going to dance to it. You're going to do it. And it's just like, what? Why? And don't ask me questions. I'm your coach. Do it. Right? And that's your homework assignment. And I expect to hear a feedback after that happens. And like, it blows their mind, but it's like, why did we do this? Because it's a homework assignment that helps with self-compassion and self-love. And that's what's really going to help you drive into discovering yourself, exploring who you are. When you explore who you are, you know what you want. When you know what you want, that's how you attract what you want. That's how you end up with a good partner. Boom. Like, it's so, it connects, you know? So it's like, I never just dive into, okay, all right, low confidence. All right, boom, here, list of 5 things, go do them. No, never the recipe, the process, work through it. You have to identify why there is that place of insecurity.
You're such an amazing coach, even though I didn't take a lesson yet. But I would love to.
Be confident antaru. Be confidence antaru. Not overconfidence, confidence.
Got you. Yes, to summarize the mindset, I'll take myself for example. I'm really lean. So how my mindset should be is based on our conversations from you is I have choices, obviously. I can stay the way I am, or I can increase my body weight through muscle for reasons like if I'm working, backyard stuff, then, we need some muscles or like.
To look more manly? Is that what you wanted to say?
Sure.
Start right there. Okay. Transparency and honesty. What do you want? That's what so what do you want?
What do I want?
If you identify yourself to be manly, then your lean or muscular self wouldn't even matter. But if that was the concern, then that is what we need to talk about. Right?
Yeah.
So from what you just said, my first question was, what do you want? These are my reasons. This is what I want. Okay. Boom. Let's work on that. Let's try to fit a schedule in. Can you afford a trainer? What is that going to cost? What is that going to look like? Let's look at your schedule. Let's put that in. Let's see what days are going to be able to work with a trainer. Like blah, 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 boom, boom, boom. We can make active steps to make that happen. Or listen, like I really don't have the time to go to the gym, or I go to the gym and I like my routine, or I run every morning and I'm happy with that and my physical fitness is great, or I like being lean. Like it's nice. I like being lean. I really don't find attractiveness in being all bulky. Then what can we do to create confidence for you to attract the right partner who's going to love your body? So it's like choice. Like, what do you want? And then we can work on building in that area.
Thank you for that. From your perspective, is that a valid reason to satisfy for your partner? Or should I just stick with the way I am, and then in the future, a right partner finds me and she's okay with how I am?
So people don't find each other. Let me make that very clear. Effort happens in both aspects, right? And effort doesn't mean you change the way you necessarily look, but effort means you discover who you are. When you know who you are and you truly have like expanded yourself enough to like know who you are, which that, you know, like the cliche thing, like, oh, you have to love yourself first before you can like love someone else. How many times have we heard this, right? All the time. And it's freaking true. But love can be hard to understand. Like, how do I love myself? Like, I love myself. Love yourself also means discover yourself. Be single enough to a point where you're like, I'm cool. Like, oh, I'm able to talk to a person. That person leaves. I'm so happy to go home and be in my space. And like, I think this is something that happens on a trajectory of like aging as well. Like as you get older, you're more able to do that. So giving yourself that time, not being like, oh, I got to get married by 22. You don't know. And that's why we're seeing this change, the shift in marriage ages, right? Like people are now getting married in like their 30s and 40s, right? Or 30s and having children in their 40s. Like we're seeing this trend because a lot of times we're seeing this mental shift from people. So ultimately what I think is like, first, discover yourself, being happy with yourself, identify, push yourself. I love being a stylist for this reason. One of my favorite things to do when it comes to self-discovery is styling. I will make you wear things that you never thought you would wear ever. And when you see yourself and you're like, dang, okay, dang, I look good. It's like the best feeling ever for me, but it's an even more amazing feeling for you. And that's when you start pushing your boundaries and start dressing differently and start caring about the way you look and start caring about the way you present yourself. Your confidence is boosting. So then your personality starts to shine more. You're more out there. You go from a person being timid and sitting in the back of the room to a person where someone says, oh, hey, Sai, how you doing? You're like, hey, I'm doing great. How are you? You're suddenly shining and radiating in the room because internally your confidence is just growing. Because you love the way you look, the way you're putting out yourself, you're working a great job. And that is what's going to have this woman go, who is he? Like, what's his name? Sai? Okay, I got to go meet this guy. And a woman who's also been through the same transformative phase is going to come up to you and be able to say, hey, I saw you from across the room. Have we met before? Or you're gonna see this same kind of woman who's like, oh my God, okay, and then role reverse. You're gonna go up to them and be like, hey, have I seen you before? I have to say, you look absolutely beautiful in this salwar kameez. Right? You're going to be able to do that. And that is how you attract your partner. And of course, you can go traditional methods too. I mean, not so traditional methods, but now is more mainstream traditional, which is online dating, right? I think online dating is a great platform, especially because our generations right now are very non-confrontational. So, but being able to have a presence even in that aspect, having these pictures, which are like radiating confidence. I think that's one of the most common things that I get when I have, like when I'm on social media or on a dating profile or whatever. It's like, dang, you radiate confidence. And not being ashamed of my body and being able to say like, okay, listen, thick thighs save lives. Boom. You can see my thick thighs in this outfit. Making sure that you're being very transparent. This is how I look. This is who I am. This is what I do. Explaining what your intentions are. Hey, I'm looking to date. hey, I'm looking for this. Not being afraid, not being like, oh God, if I write date, no guy is going to say yes to me. None of that. Just being authentic. I always say life has 3 purposes: being happy, staying authentic, and finding your purpose, which is something that changes all the time as you evolve. But as long as you're able to like put that out there, then attraction, finding people, meeting people, all of that automatically happens. The effort comes in with the self, and the effort comes in with like creating a dating profile or making that first step, or if someone messages you, replying back, or whatever that looks like. And then of course, caution, please be safe, use safe practices, safe guidelines, don't sext.
Okay, I can't wait till I tell you that I'm not single anymore.
Well, it starts right there, not single anymore.
Jokes apart, but thank you for all that. If I were to summarize what you spoke about this episode, it's all about knowing what you want, making choices, fulfilling yourself, that positive self-talk, and find the right people to talk to, and slay the day.
Boom. You said it right there. All of it. Life is all about choices. When you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. That's so important. And choosing yourself is really good.
Yeah, Shuka, thank you so much for joining us today. It's really great. You're helping out people to challenge the views of society and providing confidence to others about their own bodies. We have learned a lot from today, and wishing the very best with your career, everything else that's going on.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, this platform. Again, congratulations to both of you for doing such an amazing job curating the Telugu Saga. I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job keeping the culture alive and beautiful and creating a space where influencers, amazing people of the Telugu community come in and just share a little bit of their thoughts, a piece of their mind.
Thank you, Yashu. I mean, it really means a lot. When I first got to see your profile and on Instagram, and that's just how I got to find more information about you. You seem really confident. I guess I'm pretty sure you heard that, and we were looking forward to talking with you. And it's really nice that you came on board to talk about all the different things that you went through. And thank you for sharing all of that. Before we finish the podcast, I'm just gonna thank the audience, and then we're gonna do like a quick fun round. To all the Telugu Saga audience, thank you for always listening. Thank you for always providing us with great feedback, and we look forward to another great podcast very soon. So thank you, everyone.